Hi, I'm Ann Nichols. Welcome to our Week 6 lecture of American writers. This week we're studying Gothic Romanticism. Recently we talked about Transcendentalism and how that was an offshoot of European Romanticism. So is Gothic Romanticism. Some shared characteristics between all three movements are an interest in the individual, an interest in creativity, and an interest in nature. But the Gothic Romantics join the European Romantics in also having an interest in the supernatural and emotions. So you're going to see a lot of that. One of the main differences as well between the Gothic Romantics and the Transcendentalists is the mood, how they view the nature of man. If you remember, the Transcendentalists were incredibly optimistic. Man contains God, therefore man is almost infallible, sharing some of that optimism of the Enlightenment. The Gothic Romantics have a much darker view. So let me just catch us up here with our blanks. The first one is Romanticism, and now we have Gothic. So the characteristics of the Gothic, it's going to be a little bit darker. So we're going to have a nightmarish atmosphere. In Britain or Europe, a lot of times it was ruined castles. In 19th century America, there's not a whole lot of ruined castles around, but we're still talking dark and rainy and lost in the woods and those sorts of things. You're also going to often have a threatened heroine or a damsel in distress. And then you're going to have a handsome but dangerous man. Think about Beauty and the Beast here as your text. Think about when Belle arrives at the castle in the pouring rain, and then she's confronted with this hideous beast. And there's tension. A lot of times in adult Gothic literature, it's sexual tension. Is she going to be taken advantage of? You'll see that a lot in Gothic literature. Another thing that Hawthorne and Poe did was they pioneered the American short story. If you remember, our Transcendentalists wrote a lot of essays. Our European Romantics are writing a lot of poetry, but Hawthorne and Poe were really into the short story. They also liked to use symbols a lot and ambiguity. Ambiguity means to be unclear, to be open to multiple interpretations. For example, in Young Goodman Brown, we're not going to be sure at the end if the story was real or if the story was a dream. It's going to be open, it's going to allow us as readers to be more involved in the process of interpreting the work. We talked about Nathaniel Hawthorne a little bit when we talked about the sentimental tradition. If you recall, he's the one who was frustrated at the sentimental writers' success. He referred to them as a damn mob of scribbling women. He himself received critical acclaim, but he didn't receive the commercial success that those women achieved. So he had to have a day job to support himself and supplement his income from his writings, and that was something that he was very frustrated about. One thing that Hawthorne is known for is his depiction of the Puritans. His ancestors were Puritans, and in Young Goodman Brown, he's going to set that in the Puritan era, and it's done very well with great historical accuracy. His themes, his major themes are sin and guilt, which I think also shows interest in the Puritan era and their deep spiritual roots that they had and the way that they felt like man was inherently evil because we are a fallen people. Another thing about Hawthorne is that he has a lot of female characters. It's interesting to see yes, they are damsels in distress, but often they are not all that weak. So it'll be interesting to assess what you think of Hawthorne's female characters. And then finally, Hawthorne is not known for action. His stories don't necessarily have a strong plot. The interest lies in how the characters react to the things that are being done. their emotional, internal lives receive a lot of attention. That's something that Hawthorne is known for as well. Now Poe, our next author, you probably know a lot about his personal life because he's one of these people who his personal life has become legendary and in some ways overeclipsed his writings. He's known for his chaotic life. He was born to actors when acting was not a reputable, glamorous profession. His dad deserted the family. His mother died when he was very, very young, so he got a foster family. His foster mother died. His foster father disowned him. He went on to marry his 13-year-old cousin, which was not socially acceptable. She died. So Poe went on to claim that the death of a beautiful woman was the most poetic topic in the world. That is a little disturbing perhaps, but you can see how Poe is drawing on his own pain and his own life experiences. He became an alcoholic, he became troubled. So one question you can always ask is, was he insane? His characters are often insane. Was Poe himself insane? I don't think so. I think he's really a classic example of the tormented artist, but I don't think that means he himself was insane. What he wanted most was to be an influential poet and critic. He was reacting against a lot of the long didactic literature. He wanted literature to be short so that it could be written in one sitting, and he didn't want to teach a lesson. He wanted to produce an effect. So for a lot of his short stories and poems, he wants it to be chilling. He wants it to be creepy. He wants it to be horrifying. That's the effect that he's going for. His short stories, he actually wrote those just to make money because as a critic and a poet, he wasn't getting the commercial success that he was looking for. So he was writing these short stories to earn money while it was the poetry and the criticism that he was truly passionate about. So his short stories have several categories. He wrote satire, he wrote horror, and he wrote mysteries. And he actually invented many of the conventions of the mystery. Sherlock Holmes gets credit for starting a lot of these things, but it's actually Poe that came first. Things like the detective not being part of the police force, the detective being independent and smarter than the police, the detective having the sidekick who's not quite as smart, the idea of the villain being a true match for our detective, that they are the smart ones, and that it takes some creative thinking for the detective to figure out what the villain is up to, and there's going to be a surprise twist at the end as it all comes together. So you're going to, in the Purloined Letter, you're going to see all of that come to fruition. This is I think our most creative literature that we have studied thus far, and I really hope you enjoy it. I look forward to hearing your comments in our discussion. Thank you.